Hi, good afternoon class. My name is Sarah Dessler. I'm going to be doing my demonstrative speech today on how to make homemade pie crusts. Now it only takes about 10 minutes. Sometimes you can do it quicker depending on how it turns out the first time you do it around. So there are 4 ingredients that you need to make a homemade pie crust, which is pretty simple. You have salt, you have your shortening, you have flour, and then all you need is a bowl of ice cold water. So first of all, what we need to do is get out our mixing bowl, which I have right here. We're going to add 1 1/4 cup of flour. Put that in there, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay. And then we need 1/3 cup of shortening, and I buy the cubes of shortening. It makes it a little bit easier, so you don't have to measure it out. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. Then I need my fork over here. And what we do, you can usually use a pastry blender to mix this up, but I'm just going to use a fork since I don't have one. And you kind of just mix it up in here until it becomes like little granules, like pea size. And you got to get it stirred up in here pretty good. Make sure all the salt and the flour are mixed up and that the shortening's sticking to the flour, because that's going to make for the best pie crust. Actually, I learned how to make pie crust in high school in my home economics class, and it's the only thing that's from high school that's really stuck with me throughout my life, which is kind of crazy. But I find that homemade crust tastes so much better than store-bought crust. And you can use any kind of pie filling that you want. There's apple, pumpkin, rhubarb, cherry. I'm going to actually be making a pumpkin pie, but I'm just going to show you the part on how to make the crust. So once you get this pretty good stirred up here, put this all in here. Hope everyone can see what I'm doing here. I'm not the best cook, but I do know how to make a good pie crust. So my family's excited. I'm making them pumpkin pie tonight. I told them, why waste the pie crust for a speech when I can make a pie out of it? Okay, so this is starting to look more of the consistency I need here. I don't know if you can see. I'll try to show you up close here. Almost looks like sand in a way. That's what you want it to look like. Okay, and then it says to add about 4 to 5 tablespoons of the cold water. Sometimes it takes a little bit more, so we'll just see how many we need here. And what you need to do is just add 1 tablespoon at a time. I might do 2 at a time. We'll do 2 here. Okay, and then we'll just stir this up. And then we'll start forming our dough here. So this is pretty easy. I wouldn't say it takes a lot of time. I know it is easier to buy a store-bought pie crust, but it just doesn't taste the same to me. Keep doing this here. That was my 3rd tablespoon of cold water. So I think it's going to take a lot more than 4 or 5. But it's starting to shape here. So here's my 4th. Okay. I tend to talk to myself a lot too when I'm cooking, so if I do that, don't think I'm crazy. So we're starting to get a little doughy consistency here. I don't know if you can see right here. It's looking more like dough. Add another tablespoon of water. You don't want to add too much because then it'll ruin your dough crust here. Okay, so I think it's turning out pretty good. At this point, we could take it out of the bowl and start forming a ball. Okay. Looking pretty good. That only took maybe like 3 minutes, I would say. Okay, so we got our ball here. I'm going to get this bowl out of the way. Okay, you want to make sure that you're working on a clean surface here, which mine's already clean. And first of all, you need to wash your hands too, because everyone's going to be eating this pie crust. And what you want to do is sprinkle some dough on the surface here. Just sprinkle it around. Roll up my sleeve here. Okay, and then you're gonna need a rolling pin here. So I'm gonna flour up the rolling pin, and I need to clear some of my workspace here. I don't have enough room. As you can see from my sales pitch video, I have a very small kitchen. Alright, so I'm going to keep my flour there because I'm going to probably need it. Alright, so I got more of a space to work with here. And you kind of just want to knead it a little bit to get it going here. Okay. And you're probably going to have to roll it out a couple different times just to get the shape that you want so it'll be able to fit in your pie pan. And I just kind of just go like this, work from the middle and go out. Do that for a little bit and then I flip it over. And I kind of roll out the other way. This is actually turning out pretty good. Okay. And then make sure your flour surface is pretty good because you don't want to stick into your counter. And just keep rolling it out. I don't know if it's big enough yet to fit in my pie pan. Let's see here. It's getting there. When I first started making pie crust, it took me a couple times to get into a routine to learn how to make it. But let's see if it'll fit our pie pan here. And I've already greased up my pan a little bit so the crust or the dough doesn't stick to it. And let's see if we can get it in here. Kind of shape it up here. There's too much on this side. And you can use like the fancy pastry scissors if you wanted to. Okay, and I kind of just put the holes together. You can just kind of, it's almost like glue, you can just fix it here. Okay, so that actually worked and fit the first time I did it. Now I'll just kind of tear off the sides a little bit. That's where people get fancy and use the pastry scissors, but I figure it doesn't have to look beautiful, it just has to taste good. So we're going to do that here. And just kind of fold it over on the sides here. Okay. Just kind of go like that. Alright, so I think we're going to make it before the 10-minute marking period here. I hope you guys learn how to make this pie crust because it's just in time for the holidays. We have Thanksgiving coming up and Christmas, so you can make good pumpkin pies and apple pies. Those are my favorite. Then what I do is I just kind of like put my thumbprint around the whole side so you get that little design. Some people use a fork and they call it, I think they call it bird prints, the little paw prints. So you just get this going around here. And we're almost finished. Starting to look pretty good. Alright. I think we have a finished homemade pie crust. And then you just go ahead and add your filling and then you're done. You can also do a double batch if you wanted to and do the lattice work on top, which makes a really pretty apple pie. So I hope you guys learn how to make a homemade pie crust today. Hope you enjoyed my speech and thanks for listening.